Since the introduction of the General Motors EV1 in 1997, when electric cars began to come into the mainstream, they have become known for being quiet and good for the environment. However, they also have the perceived side effects of being slow, small, and inconvenient. Plug-in electric vehicles, which are referred to as PEVs, have been slowly catching on and have developed into seemingly reliable and efficient machines. There is another issue besides pollution that PEVs are well equipped to deal with. This problem would be the depletion and subsequent rising prices of fossil fuels, namely oil and petroleum. Before we get any further in, let's clear something up. Crude oil will not run out anytime in the near future. We will not, however, be able to continue producing oil at our current rate of around 30 billion barrels per year. This means that the price of crude oil will rise significantly, leading to increased fuel prices. PEVs are a solution to this impending problem, but are they a valid option for buyers to consider? Let's find out. What people consider to be normal internal combustion powered vehicles have been getting better in many ways, from gas mileage to safety to pollutants produced. The average non-electric car produced in 2008 spewed 380.6 grams or 0.839 pounds of pollutants into the air for every mile driven, with 368.4 grams or 0.812 pounds of said pollutants being carbon dioxide. Looking to PEVs next, we can see that it costs $4.08 to drive 100 miles at a cost of 12 cents per kilowatt hour of electricity. Dividing things out, we come to the conclusion that 1 kilowatt hour of electricity will power a PEV for 2.94 miles. In order to figure out the amount of pollution that this creates, we must look at the substances used to produce electricity. The U.S. Energy Information Administration says that in 2013, 6.7% of the electricity generated in the United States was produced using fossil fuels, with 39% coming from coal alone. To find the amount of CO2 produced by the generation of 1 kilowatt hour of energy, we can look at the percentages given to us by the EIA. Since 39% of electricity is generated by coal, while 28% comes from other fossil fuels, namely petroleum and natural gas, that leaves 33% to be generated by greener means such as wind, hydro, and solar, which do not add to our calculations as they are not carbon dioxide producing. To arrive at the carbon dioxide output for 1 kilowatt hour, the numbers provided by the EIA in 2014 were used, showing that 1 kilowatt hour of electricity generated by only coal produces an average of 2.14 pounds of carbon dioxide. Natural gas generates 1.22 pounds of carbon dioxide, while petroleum produces 1.68 pounds per kilowatt hour. In the absence of more specific breakdown of the other fossil fuels, 14% each was allocated to both natural gas and petroleum. Dividing those numbers by the specific percentages, and then adding them together gives us a national average of 1.24 pounds of carbon dioxide produced in the generation of 1 kilowatt hour of electricity in the U.S. Dividing that by the miles that 1 kilowatt hour will power a PEV, which is 2.94, we find that the grid produces 0.42 pounds of carbon dioxide per mile that a PEV drives, compared to the 0.81 pounds per mile generated by the average internal combustion powered vehicle. One might now be thinking, so the driving of a PEV results in less carbon dioxide per mile than a non-electric vehicle. That's good, but are PEVs practical? Well, the answer to that depends on what one wants to use them for. For commuting, yes they are. For long-distance road trips, not so much. The electric car with the longest range currently is the Tesla Model S P85D, which can go 383 miles on a single charge. Other common PEVs, such as the Nissan Leaf and the BMW i3, have ranges of 84 and 81 miles respectively. Road trips can be done with PEVs, but most are more suited to urban life. Some benefits of owning a PEV are quite obvious. The owner's carbon footprint is 50% smaller than it would be if they owned an internal combustion vehicle. The car is much quieter, and then the big one, you don't have to pay for gas, which makes driving much cheaper. Some, however, are a little less obvious, such as the tax benefits that one can get for owning one. Upon purchase of a new PEV, one is given a $7,500 federal tax credit. In Washington, you are also exempt from state motor and use taxes, and Puget Sound Energy will give the purchaser a $500 rebate for the purchase and installation of electric vehicle supply equipment. PEVs are also exempt from emissions testing, and state sales and use taxes do not apply to equipment and/or labor used to maintain the EV infrastructure. However, these benefits don't come without some cost. PEVs need to be charged. In order to do that, one must find a station and plug the car in, whether it be at home, at the store, or at work. The issue with that is simple. What happens if there isn't a charging station nearby? An owner might easily find themselves in the middle of nowhere running low on charge and subsequently become stranded if they aren't careful. With such limited ranges on some electric vehicles, traveling any long distance might become slightly more difficult than first anticipated. It might also become quite a bit more time-consuming. Even if a charging station can be found, it could take a few hours of charging to fill up again, whereas if one were in a gasoline-powered vehicle, it would only be a matter of minutes until they were back on the road. Another problem one might encounter would be that even if they found a charging station, there's no guarantee that it would be available. Someone else might have already claimed it for themselves for the few hours that it takes to charge some vehicles. Even in a town that has a charging station which isn't being used, how does one find it? If someone is unfamiliar with where they are, they might very well run out of charge before they could locate a plug. Well, that last part is easy enough to solve. Websites such as plugshare.com and chargepoint.com have locations of most current charging stations and even real-time availability updates for many of them. If a website isn't to one's liking, they also have mobile apps which will accomplish the same thing. Tesla Motors has also developed a partial solution for the long charging times. Their new Model S P85D, with its range of 383 miles, can be completely charged in 1 hour and 12 minutes according to Tesla's website. This time, of course, is only achieved using a Tesla supercharger, which is the new form of charging station that the company has created specifically for their vehicles. Using one of these stations, which are scattered across the US and Europe, 170 miles of range can be restored in as little as 30 minutes. Using a conventional PEV charging station, the car would only charge at a rate of 20 miles of range per hour. Unfortunately, for the majority of PEVs, charging times are still somewhat of an issue. It is, however, being improved upon. In the meantime, PEVs are best suited for commuting, as that generally involves shorter ranges, and they can be charged while idle at both ends of the journey. Plug-in electric vehicles are becoming a more and more common sight on the roads of the United States, for good reason. They expel nearly 50% less carbon dioxide per mile than they travel compared to internal combustion-powered vehicles, and cost much less to drive per 100 miles, coming in at an average of $4.08. Aside from these inherent facts, benefits to the consumer include multiple tax credits, exemptions, and other benefits of owning an all-electric vehicle in both the U.S. and Washington State. PEVs are a viable solution to some of the problems they set out to solve, and the more that are run regularly, the less pollutants will be produced, and the less money each of us will have to spend.